The US dollar is collapsing, and it's a direct result of the Trump Republican regime's policies that are gutting the US economy from the inside out. So here's what's happening. And stay with me because the plot thickens towards the end. With very few exceptions, empires last about 250 years, and the United States is right on schedule.
The experiment, and I've said this before, clearly has failed. Patriarchy has failed. The system of capitalism was not correct. Didn't really do much, didn't really help. That including racism, on top of a whole bunch of other things, but racism being one of the things that literally built the country brick by brick, literally. Yeah, we're in the collapse.
Y'all want to know one real reason why America's crashing out like crazy right now? Mediocrity don't hit like it used to, baby. See, once upon a time in America, you could be real mid and still thrive. Mediocre effort, boom, you get a house, car, annual vacation, pension, hell, maybe even a boat. You could clock in, coast through the week, grill on Sundays, and still retire with dignity. But that era is dead and gone, baby. And instead of leveling up or adapting, they're mad, they're bitter, and they're not even blaming the billionaires. They blaming you. They have the audacity to blame me. They blaming immigrants, black people, queer folk, anyone they think is taking something that used to be theirs by default. See, they don't want equality. They want comfort. And when mediocrity no longer gets them that comfort, they start rewriting the rules to rig the game again. It ain't about fairness. It's about preserving the lie. The lie that being average should still be enough for them.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen. So someone once said that more often than not, if you want to know what is happening in America or what will happen in America, you need to listen to what the Black American community is whispering about.
Right. Why is this? Because more often than not, before anything happens to any other community, Black Americans are normally on the receiving end. And for a long time, they kept on warning other groups of people about what was going on in America because they were on the receiving end. But what happened? A lot of white people and others kept on telling them that they needed to work a little more harder. They needed to stop being lazy. They needed to, all these things, but listening to what the Black American community was trying to communicate. So in today's episode, we are going to be looking at different speakers, amongst them white people, an economist, and some Black Americans who are going to be talking to us about the collapse of America and just basically talking about the things they already said would happen that is happening right now.
Right. So as we hear the biggest indicators to why they think America is collapsing, let us know what you think about this episode. Also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, right? Let's watch and then you come back.
America is collapsing before our very eyes. Restaurants are closing their doors for good in my city at a record pace. They're blaming it on a slow season, but I think it's something else. You can't tell me the amount of abandoned strip malls that I drive by on a daily basis is normal. I know you've seen it too. All these places just get replaced with the Capybara Cafe de Jour or a flower store to placate the masses, if you know what I mean. There used to be 24-hour diners, family-owned restaurants, even bookstores, I don't know, third spaces. Now, nothing. Luxury apartments that sit vacant forever. Grocery stores that have been closed for 10 years. So much wasted space in empty parking lots until some TikTok trend comes, opens for 6 months, and then that closes too. I know I'm not alone in this, but yet every single time I bring it up, I get all the bots in my comments telling me the economy's never been better. But I ask for who? Like 100 people at the top? So the billionaires are doing great. I don't care. People like you and me, we're struggling out here. All my friends live in vans. And if we are lucky enough to have apartments or houses, we're living behind locked doors and closed blinds because there's no community here anymore. Restaurants are just the beginning. They're the canary in the coal mine. Once they're gone, so are all of our meeting places, our birthday parties, our community, and third spaces. They're not just a place to buy food. They're a pulse of the neighborhood. And also, as a live singer, something hugely important to my job. I used to sing 5 nights a week. Now I'm lucky if I can find a Sunday night gig. So I'm just here to say, if this is what a booming economy sounds like, it must be the sound of doors slamming shut. And I don't know about you, but I'm making my exit plan. We're moving to Portugal soon, where they still have cafes and restaurants that people actually go to.
We're not heading towards a collapse. This is the empire actively collapsing. Like, we're in it. This is the part in the history books that like has a name to the event, but like we're in it, so it's not being named. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was the Great War before they knew that there was going to be a World War II. And then, mind you, during World War One, they didn't know that it was going to be called World War One. You know what I mean? But we're definitely in the collapse. It's not the collapse is coming. No, like everything is failing currently, actively right now. The empire is collapsing right now. We are in the collapse of the American empire experiment.
You know, they're crashing the economy on purpose. They're doing this on purpose. But I really want to know what happens when Americans have, well, the working class Americans have nothing to lose, nothing to live for, because all of their money goes to their essentials and to their bills, and they no longer have money to buy anything that's for enjoyment. What would they use to distract them? Also, with them always constantly saying they're going to delete a lot of apps like TikTok and they can control the media, what people use to feel any kind of sense of belonging? So if people feel like they don't have their needs met in some kind of way, what will happen? Because eventually what will happen is that once people realize that their dollar does nothing for them, they'll be upset. What will y'all do then? Like, I still see you guys blaming other disadvantaged groups for the reason why the economy looks the way it does. And someone right now just bought a boat. You've been saving up for a shitty car, and someone just bought a boat. Now, I'm not saying that having money makes you a bad person, but we have to understand that a lot of the elite are purposely tanking the economy so they can buy it back for nothing and control everything. That's who you need to be mad at.
With very few exceptions, empires last about 250 years, and the United States is right on schedule. So according to John Glubb's theory, empires go through 6 stages over about 250 years. And looking back, he might just be right. The Arab Caliphate lasted about 250 years, the Mongol Empire about 240, the Dutch Golden Age around 220 years, the Habsburg Empire roughly 250, and the British Empire just over 250. The US has followed Glubb's 6 stages. It starts with the Age of Pioneers, followed by the Age of Conquest, Commerce, Affluence, Intellect, and finally, the Age of Decadence. America's Age of Pioneers from 1776 to 1850 was a time of energetic founding, idealism, revolutionary spirit, risk-taking, included the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Lewis and Clark's expeditions, amazing and exciting times for the new country. Then the Age of Conquest, when the empire expands, grows its military, and consolidates its borders. This had the tragic Indian Removal Act of 1830, the annexation of Texas, the Mexican-American War, the California Gold Rush, and the Spanish-American War in 1898. Then the Age of Commerce from 1890s to 1945, when trade, infrastructure, and industry boom. This is the American Industrial Revolution, the Transcontinental Railroad, the Roaring Twenties. President Coolidge said in 1925, quote, "The chief business of the American people is business." That was followed by the Age of Affluence, 1945 through the 1970s, a time of mass prosperity, rising consumption with the GI Bill, suburban housing boom, rapid growth of the middle class, consumer culture, the rising consumption, and a wonderful time of optimism, especially if you were white. This was followed by the Age of the Intellect, with rapid innovation, intense public debate, and ideological splintering. In the US, it was Silicon Valley, computers, the internet, AI, and culture wars. And finally, the Age of Decadence, from about 2000 to today. This is the end time of unsustainable debt, materialism, bureaucracy, the loss of civic virtue, and military overreach. The US debt is currently at 36 trillion, trust in government at 22%. The US population is in 2 hostile camps. The American president attacks other countries with no consultation. The US military is on the US streets, arresting US citizens. People disappear in unmarked cars by unidentified masked agents of the government. If Glubb's theory looks like it's right on schedule, it is. The question isn't will the US fall, it's how many years or months does it have left.
In the event that you have the luxury of not being able to keep up with the state of the American economy, I apologize in advance, but I gotta be the one to put you on. If you want to remain ignorant, by all means scroll. But after this portion of the video, it's all facts, baby. All facts. All right, getting straight into it. We're going to be discussing the recession indicators as of August 2025. All right, and the information that I'm going to be giving to you is coming from the Washington Post. The name of the article is Long Term Unemployment at Post Pandemic High, Straining Workers and Economy. So I took a decent amount of notes from this article, so excuse me in advance, apologies in advance if I'm looking down a lot, but let's just get straight into it, right? So as of August 2025, 1 out of every 4 worker in the United States is unemployed and has been unemployed for at least half a year, right? This is a number that economists say is only seen during periods of economic turmoil. The first indication is employers have frozen hiring because of all of these tariffs that are being imposed by the Trump administration, as well as these policies that are crippling businesses, American businesses. They have frozen hiring. They're trying to wait everything out. They're trying to see the final effects of all of these tariffs and these policies. The second indication is layoffs are rising. Weekly claims for unemployment benefits or insurance has reached its highest level since October 2021. All right. The third indicator is 1.9 million Americans have been unemployed for at least 27 weeks, right? This is the first time in 4 years that there are more unemployed people in the United States than there are jobs. Now, this is the fifth recession indication. The unemployment rate has exceeded 25%. It is officially at 25.7%. Now, this has only happened 3 times since 1950, and it has always happened after a recession. After, not before. The first time that this happened was for 1 month, June 1983, after an inflation-fueled recession. The second time was for an 8-year stretch following the 2009 Great Recession. And the third time was for 1 year and a half after the COVID-19 pandemic.
Bruh, did we just step back in 2021? Because for the first time in years, there are more people out of work than there are jobs available. They said the job market was strong, right? They told us that the companies were hiring, right? They also said that the economy was steady. But that's all a lie. The government report just flipped that all upside down. Everything that I just said that they said was up is down. There are 7 million job openings in the U.S. right now, but there are over 7 million people waiting for jobs to get them. So essentially that means it doesn't matter how hard you grind because you got other people trying to fill out for that same spot. If you have a job right now, keep it. I know the job might stress you out. I know you might hate that job, but do not leave that job. Don't let them fire you for nothing until you get something else that's on the table. That's a for sure, definite, possible job for you. Because y'all, it's hard as hell. It's one thing trying to find a job, and then it's another, even with that job, it's not even doing shit to help you for real.
The US dollar is collapsing, and it's a direct result of the Trump Republican regime's policies that are gutting the US economy from the inside out. So here's what's happening. And stay with me because the plot thickens towards the end. The dollar just went through one of the steepest 6-month drops in history. And yes, I said history, not the last 5 years, not the last decade, not the last 50 years. In history, it's down 11%. It's stabilized for now, but experts say this is just a pause before the next crash because Trump's trade war and reckless spending have left America with twin deficits, a massive trade deficit and a huge federal budget deficit. It's like bleeding from 2 wounds at once. Stabilizing one wound only slows the death process. And follow for more at cultural analysis and culturalperspective.com because understanding why this is happening is the first step in protecting yourself. Here's the cultural problem. The Trump regime sees power as a zero-sum game. They believe America must win by forcing others to lose. So they impose tariffs and punish foreign governments that hold U.S. debt. So predictably, the global investors are now pulling money out of U.S. assets. And when they sell off the dollar, it sinks even further. The Federal Reserve faces a weakening job market because of Trump is cutting rates. Lower rates mean even less attractive dollars worldwide. It's a spiral caused by the Trump Republican regime. So why are they doing this? And this is where the plot thickens. Manufacturing can't come back to America if the dollar stays strong. So Trump is weakening the dollar. The same America First policies that sound patriotic are actually designed to devalue American currency, which will devalue savings and devalue retirement accounts. So what happens to manufacturing if the dollar keeps falling? Nothing, because America doesn't manufacture anymore. Economies evolve through 6 stages of development: farming, industrial, manufacturing, services, knowledge and digital, and finally, sustainable economies. The US is already at stage 5, while places like the EU and China are moving towards stage 6. So no one talks about taking America back to stage 1, farming. It is a ridiculous idea. So why try and drag it all the way back to stage 3, factories? People don't want to work factory jobs anymore, and advanced economies never move backwards. And that's why Trump's plan to revive US manufacturing is just stupid. You can't reverse decades of economic evolution, but you can destroy an economy and make everyone poor. And that is exactly what Trump and the Republican regime is doing.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about this episode in the comment section, right? I feel like a lot of speakers today have mentioned a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration. And to be quite honest, I feel like when something is not happening to a certain group of people, then they don't really normally care about these things, right? And just a question, like I'm very, very curious and I would like to also know what you think about it, yeah? Do you think that China is going to surpass or has already surpassed America when it comes to what country being ahead? You know, because I feel like right now, there used to be a point where America used to have a problem with China when they were coming to invest in Africa in terms of infrastructure, you know, and all of that. I also remember, right, a press conference that went viral where a white woman was asking somebody in that press conference, right? He seemed important. I don't remember who he was, but it went viral, right? And she was asking him why he thinks China was very, very interested in Africa and why they were wasting a lot of resources building infrastructure in Africa. Why was it that China was so interested in Africa? Is it because they could not see, America could not see what China sees in Africa? And the journalist, not journalist, but the person responded to this white woman and told her, why does America need to feel bad, or why do they need to be angry at the fact that China chose to invest in Africa, how they chose to invest in Africa? Because America has also had previous interest in Africa that are still ongoing, and they chose to not develop Africa when it came to infrastructure. So why should they be angry when someone else chooses to do something different in the same area, you know?
Right. And right now, a lot of American citizens, including Chinese America, feel like while America seems to be building down, China seems to be building up, right? So the biggest question we are asking today is, while all this is happening, what is the real end goal? Because right now also a lot of people are feeling like the economic turmoil that America is in right now seems to be orchestrated or is being orchestrated by a few elites.
Right, and if this is the case, you can't help but ask yourself, right? Why are these selfish people or these selfish fractions, why are they so invested in destroying their own country? But I feel like for those who are benefiting or profiting from this, they wouldn't really care so long as the profit is still coming in. You see what I'm trying to say? And there's a boy who was talking about how restaurants are closing down in America currently, and that just goes to show the economic state of our country, because there was once a time where America used to be flourishing in everything, and even a black lady here talked about that, right? Mediocre was rewarded, or okay, those words sounds a little bit harsh, but that is how she put it basically, right?
Right, and she was trying to paint to how the economy was good back then, because in her own words she was saying it didn't matter how mediocre you were, you would still end up with a good car, you'd still end up with a good housing, you'd still end up with a good retirement plan, especially if you were a white person.
Right. So all these things being put into consideration and what the economy used to be like back in America, and you look at right now restaurants closing. There was a time when even a small family restaurant business people could decide to open up and it would flourish. I remember like the things we loved most about American movies when we were watching from here in Africa was when you'd watch a movie and then in a small town there's that famous diner, you know.
Yeah, that famous diner, the lights never go out.
Right, that kind of diner, you know. And I feel like that was a representation of what America used to be. But right now, it's the small...
In terms of economy.
Exactly. And I would say COVID was the real propeller of the change America is facing right now. COVID really exposed a lot of things and left a lot of people vulnerable, right? And even COVID, people have stories about it, but we cannot confirm here, so we are not going to be talking about them. It will just remain that. But COVID was a real eye-opener and the beginning of all this that is happening. Let's just say things were happening because, as I said in a previous episode, do you blame President Trump for what is happening in America right now? Or do you believe that America was always meant to get to where it is right now, only that the person in the office right now will kind of get the most blame because already, like, even without him, he couldn't have stopped where...
No. I do feel like he is also one of the biggest people who
are benefiting,
who are fueling the economy to where it is going right now, specifically because he wants his billionaire buddies and himself to benefit from it. Because like, when did Corona happen? It was like 4 or 5 years ago. Right now, the economy, because much as the economy was tanking, it has tanked even further when Donald Trump took office. So you really can't say that it was going to happen inevitably, that Trump is not to blame.
The question I'm asking, okay, that's being taken into consideration, yeah? And also the question I'm asking is, all these policies, would you say that they really had a huge contribution into the quick fall of the empire?
Yes, because especially when it comes to trade and whatnot, and also right now, considering the fact that he's also affected the H-1B visa, you don't know how it will affect the tech company in America. You don't know how it will affect the health system in America, because yes, we do know as a matter of fact that Americans are going to benefit greatly when it comes to them being able to finally find jobs without necessarily having to compete for them with cheap labor from foreigners who are coming into the country, right? But you haven't looked at the negative side of this decision and how it will affect all these companies that are now about to lose their labor force that they were getting cheaply. Because I do believe that if things are meant to get better because of this decision that Trump took, okay, it will get better, but the road to that being better, it's a long road to come.
Wow, guys, it's like America right now is unrecognizable because right now when
you hear the name America, you kind of get anxiety, you know, and
so you can imagine what Americans themselves are feeling. And also there was a time when right now it feels kind of weird when you hear about Americans having a problem of finding jobs, when there was a time where America was the kind of job hub for people to go and
land of milk and honey, even for foreigners, you know. Like here in Africa, we were really sold an idea that America could, nothing wrong could go in America, and that once you land your 2 feet in America as an African, that is how your life changes, and which to the most part it does. But right now, I can confidently say the America that I see right now is not the America I grew up, the idea of America I grew up with here in Africa. Things have definitely changed.
You even look at New York. Like, I feel like there are certain cities also that were marketed very differently, and back then it was really good because it kind of attracted investors also. But right now I feel like
it's really difficult to hide the negative side of America, especially with the internet, people talking about the real situation on the ground.
Exactly, because growing up, what we used to see is, you know, New York, where dreams are made. You know, you remember
the Alicia Keys song. And then, right there and then, you are not only seeing this beautiful image of New York in Alicia Keys' song, you're also seeing the beautiful image of New York with Batman.
Right?
The movie?
Oh my goodness. Like I miss that kind of America.
Oh,
You know,
America.
because
Guys,
kind
you
of
know,
like you looked at America and you
it was
looked
like
at
a dream you
how
could never reach
and you look
because
at
of how you are
them.
growing here in Africa. And you're like,
Right.
man, Americans have it good.
Right, and you looked at them and you're like, if they could get to that point, it gave you hope. But right now, all that is happening there, you're
You can't help
be a
but
blueprint, you know.
feel scared because, you know, bottom line and at the end of the day, whatever happens in America somehow kind of always trickles down to the rest of the world.
Exactly. And also another city I remember that used to have good marketing that, you know, when you look at movies, they talk about these cities and you're like, wow, was Las Vegas?
Ooh.
You know, that is where people like, are going to have fun.
That was here in Africa, the image was of Las Vegas and Miami. Those were the two cities that were literal cures of depression.
Right.
It's how we were sold the images of those cities.
Right.
And when you wanted to experience luxury, but a sunny weather, Los Angeles was the city. And also, if you wanted to make it big as well.
Exactly. If you wanted to also venture into the world of, you know, acting.
It sounds like America sounds like a beautiful Disney dream movie. But then again, you're knocked to reality by what's happening, especially because of social media and how Americans are coming onto the internet to tell us, look, this is not the situation on the ground, and that all these decisions here and there that are being made, it's smelling like the American economy is about to or might collapse.
Yeah, so guys, you can just imagine if right now what white people are feeling, because imagine coming from such a world where you are used to being cushioned by the system.
No matter how good, or for the ones who weren't working hard enough, no matter how bad you are, you still had to be, you are still cushioned by the economy.
And to some extent, the system kind of protected you to such a length where you don't believe you had an advantage over a minority community, you know, to now this where you are scrambling for everything and you're literally getting the black treatment, you know.
Right.
And when we say this, we don't mean it in a negative way, but Black Americans have been living this experience for God knows how many years they can remember, you know.
Right, and now a lot of white America was coming onto the internet because they didn't understand why
they're feeling
all
it like
this heaviness is happening in America, but Black community, they seem to be weathering on and just they seem to be fine, you know.
No, they don't seem to be fine. They're just quiet.
They're just quiet, and most of them have gotten used to how to maneuver these difficult situations, because one thing that has been said, since last year, the election and all of that, was that Americans, the white ones especially, they voted the way they did because they thought whatever Trump had in mind and whatever was going to happen would never touch any of them. But they are now coming to the realization that all of America, in order to survive, okay, a few of them who are woke now, they're coming to the realization that if they're to survive in America, they need everybody in the group, because at the end of the day, bottom line, it is not them versus Black Americans, it's them versus the oligarchs.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this episode. We'd very much like to hear from you, right? And also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. And we want to thank you very much for always tuning into our episode.
Right.
Yeah.
And also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel. And we'll see you on our next episode.